Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here at the Irish Hotspur, leading the fan show today, the nice and casual fan show post transfer deadline day. A lot of people, I think, very frustrated with maybe how Spurs couldn't exactly, sort of push at the very end there to maybe make the window look a bit better. In my eyes, if I really were to summarize it quite quickly, it felt like Spurs sort of started off with a bang. Looked like, in fact, maybe the best and maybe the strongest looking team, at least in the beginning of the transfer window. Felt like the rest of the team sort of caught up with us, and now it maybe looks like, in context, when you kind of look around the rest of the league, maybe sort of kind of more of a mixed window. So it started as a really strong window, then kind of went into a really mixed window. And we're also as well going to talk about the Fulham game, of course, tomorrow. The Stats with Jack preview has already been released. If you want to check that out, everything you need to know. We have a few fans lined up already in the background to have their says, probably, I assume, on the transfer window as well, of course, as they should on the London Derby tomorrow. But if you haven't already, everybody, do smash that like button. Dave is kind of like what I was doing yesterday. He's just behind the scenes, kind of doing some more today, everybody. So do show some support, and it's to come onto the channel as well. Looks like the internet went out there for a second, but everybody, I'm kind of going to give kind of my thoughts on a few different things, on a few different news before I kind of bring the fans in here. But let's get to a bit of the chat here. Tio Isaac saying, just in the chat, good to see you there, Tio. Rufus Roughcut, who we will be speaking to later, saying afternoon all. George Hill saying, cheers for the coverage over the summer window, lads. Whatever our opinion is on Spurs' business doesn't matter now. Let's rally behind our boys in the lily whites we trust. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, Harris Army. Come on, you Flat Cap Army. Absolutely love it, George. Absolutely love it, my man. Mark saying, come on, Conte on Spence. He's a perfect prospect for Tottenham, but sure, if we want to win, we need our other signings. I want to be very clear about this. I wish Conte wouldn't put Spence down like this. It is kind of maybe a bit, he's not really beating around the bush, you could say, when it comes to Spence, you could say. But when it comes to Spence, I do have plenty of things to say later, everybody. I do have some notes on it, but big up, Mark. Good to see you. Pierogi's in the house as well. Good morning. Hope you are well. Big up, Pro. Keeping all good over here. Foggy Foam saying, good day, everyone. Did not expect things to be like this. Levy never learns. Yeah, it felt like, he sort of did everything you didn't expect Levy to do in the beginning of the window, and then sort of started to be a bit more Spursy by, the transfer business towards the end there. Very very mixed window, I would say, Foggy. Big up, Scott, as well. Good to see you, CX. And then as well, move on the quiet. Don't say nothing. Absolutely love it. Pierogi, good to see you. Felipe, Sergio, afternoon, chaps. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you. R Green saying afternoon, Jack, and everyone in the chat. But who knows, anything said and just putting out there, I'm happy with what we have. I think that's a positive take to look at. I think there's plenty of reasons to sort of feel a bit mixed about it. I think that's how I feel personally. Big up, Graham. Hopefully you're keeping well, Graham. Really good to see you. Mick Hermelach in the chat as well. And then move on. The quiet saying afternoon, Jack. From everyone from Essex. Big on move on the quiet. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Mark saying club shouldn't promised a war chest in the beginning, then people's expectations wouldn't be so high. Probably poorly timed. You're absolutely right. Tequila's in the house. Big up the Irish from Flat Cap. Big up Tequila. Hopefully all is good, my man. Hopefully all is good. And big up Mick. Massive super chat from Dermot, and we will speak to him later. He says, have a drink on me, guys, for all your hard work over the last month. Looks like you can't keep everyone happy. We're in a better place this time last year. It's been a good window. Not great nor brilliant, but a good window. It's closed now. Let's get behind the team. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Dermot, my man. And I can't wait to speak to you later. And I did send you, as you know, a good voice message as well for my appreciation. But it's been a very mixed window. I think now that we sort of have the context of it all and how we've seen other teams go about it, at the same time, I think we did make significant squad improvements. So I feel like, I don't know. I find myself, still not really as upset maybe as the next guy, but it's sort of, it is frustrating maybe the way that, the means that we ended it here at Dermot. But we did try to, put out all the transfer news as much as we could. We tried to cover a lot of different discussions about where Spurs can improve, maybe what areas maybe they haven't addressed. And we had plenty of discussions over the summer and over this window. So everybody, we really do appreciate you sticking by this channel, and we really do appreciate you shown us a bit of faith, over this summer, because I think we started out really strong and then we sort of maybe faded away a bit. But nonetheless, we're still Spurs fans and we're still really dedicated to the team and hopefully finishing in the top four and still grabbing that trophy like I think everyone expected. But big up, Dermot, and really appreciate you, everybody, Dermot. And hopefully everybody check out THFC Till I Die as well. Neil Thomas saying big up, Jack and the fans. I think we needed two more in, and I'm about to get into that, Neil. I think if I were to summarize quickly, it's that two extra center backs. In fact, I think what we needed was a left-sided center back, sort of filled that with the likes of Longley, but then we needed another center back as well to compete with the likes of Dyer, to compete with the likes of Sanchez. And then a lot of fans probably wanted a creative midfielder thrown in there as well. Neil, I think it didn't really feel finished, the transfer window. Big up, Neil. Hopefully you're keeping well. But everybody, while you're in here, do smash that like button and do let me know what your thoughts are on this transfer window, as well as what your thoughts are ahead of this game against Fulham, because we still have that to discuss as well. But I'm going to get into it. I'm kind of going to give my initial thoughts here, and kind of also going to bring up a bit of news here. The first one being actually has to do with, weirdly, Brian Hill's sort of Instagram post. He made an Instagram post that was sort of cryptic in Spanish recently, saying sometimes an old photo makes us value moments where we were happier and didn't realize, via Instagram, everybody, a few days ago, by the way. So perhaps Brian Hill's a bit upset that he's actually sticking around. He wanted to have that move back to Valencia to be able to kind of continue that good spell that he had over there. And maybe he's a bit upset that he's sticking around. The other bit of news here is that Jaffa Tanganga is sort of, I think, the reason maybe why Spurs didn't go for that extra center back that I was talking about. He, of course, wanted that move to Milan by the looks of it. Maybe he was the reason why Spurs didn't go for an extra center back. I feel like that's a huge disappointment nonetheless, because if we couldn't find a move for him, then you still, I think, should have brought in somebody. I heard that Spurs sort of had some move for that Ukrainian guy, Zabarny, rejected, but I feel like if anything, we should have just pushed for something like that, even if Tanganga wasn't leaving. It is a bit disappointing that we didn't really push for an extra center back, because I felt like that was sort of one of the main priorities of this window, was bringing in two more center backs, as for competition purposes, as well as also to maybe bring something a bit different, to maybe show that we could be actually better on the ball, to show that we could actually fix some of our defensive issues, and have someone actually different in that back line. And the only real difference there is, I guess, Romero, but that still isn't that recent. And then Longley, and it's kind of a bit of a disappointment there. I think getting two center backs was a huge target for Spurs, if at least I recall, for most of the fans, as well as for Spurs. So I think it was a big miss there when it comes to Jaffa Tanganga. Papa Matasar, staying, as well as kind of a bit of news. I'm kind of glad he's actually sticking around. He is turning 20 very soon. He's still very young. He needs to stay in England, at least in my opinion. And he couldn't even, if he couldn't get a loan to an English club, I think you're kind of better off keeping him around. Ali Gold sort of, I think, weirdly kind of complained that he didn't have, good enough English. I think the guy's really only 19 or 20 years old. So I feel like there's only so much English the person can learn, especially after only recently, moving from Senegal to France, and then from France to England. But I'm actually glad that he is sticking around. I'm actually glad that he is sort of learning about the club, learning from the fan base, learning from Conte, just learning from the players. He is still really, really young. And we've kept players like this, around the club that are really young. And I think we should, because who knows, he might actually prove to be quite useful to Conte. He's very tall. He is very kind of athletic by the looks of things. And, during at least that one breakout season that he did have over at Metz, I think he did show that he could be a useful player to Conte, maybe in certain games. And he does have that Conte-like build as well. Like I said, very tall, very athletic. We've seen the likes of players over at Southampton too, Bella Kotchap, as well as I think Romeo Lavia, or whatever his name is, as well, also having really good spells over at Southampton with Hasenhüttl, despite being really, really young. So it shows that some of these young teenagers can actually do a job for you if you need. And I think, of course, that's underwhelming to say, but still, I think we should keep the faith in the Papa Matasar signing. Kind of talking about maybe no Cam being brought in this window. The various names over the summer we were linked with were, Paqueta, Madison, Zaniolo, Ziyech, and Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. I think if we really were to go for any one of those that I just mentioned, we should have just pushed for Big Sergej, because he would have probably been able to play in a two-man midfield alongside Bentancur, Højbjerg, Skip, Basuma, whichever. He is a very robust, obviously, kind of player, but extremely technically gifted on the ball. I think he would probably want to play a bit higher up the pitch. He'd rather play as sort of the number 10 and maybe a three-man midfield, Sergej, but he is, I think, compared to the likes of a Zaniolo, a Ziyech, a Madison, etc., or a Paqueta, I think he probably fit that two-man midfield of the 3-4-3 a bit better, which is why we probably should have just pushed for that, if anything, if we really did want that creative midfielder. And I feel like, it's a mixed bag there, because did Conte really want to shape his whole side around a player like Sergey? I think you should. I think he's an exceptional player, a marquee signing, if you will. But it is difficult, because if you do bring in someone like a Madison or even a Sergey Milinkovic-Savic, you might have to, shape your team a bit differently around those players. And maybe he's already satisfied with shaping his team around the likes of Kulusevski, Kane, and Son. But I don't know. Those are my thoughts there. Some are probably quite disappointed about, I think, the right wing back options at this moment in time. I can see their frustration when it comes to the right wing backs. I think if we are disappointed with the right wing back options, I think that's concerning, just because that means that we're probably concerned about the signing of Jed Spence. We're very concerned about Emerson, and then we're probably sort of concerned about Doherty, because we aren't really playing Doherty at this moment in time, which then makes me think at least that Emerson might be preferred over Doherty, despite Doherty's really good spell under Conte at one stage. I think he's had enough time to recover from that injury. I could be mistaken, but I think he's had enough time to recover. And if Doherty doesn't play in this upcoming Fulham game, I'd be concerned for him. So it showed that we probably should have then just moved on the likes of Doherty if Emerson is sort of the preferred one. A lot of people thought Emerson was going to be the guy that would have been preferred for this upcoming or preferred to move on to be sold this summer. But I don't think it actually was really that true. I think it was sort of kind of made up, in fact, maybe by the media or by the fans, because the fact that Conte has sort of started Emerson ahead of the likes of Doherty or Spence, granted, maybe not very good competition, but to me at least suggests that Emerson wasn't the first name on the sheet to be sold this summer, like a lot of media outlets were suggesting. And if Spence doesn't play as well, maybe that Fulham game, it could be a bit concerning. And also, like Mark pointed out in the comments, some of those quotes around Spence are also a bit concerning. So this is going to be an interesting one, because I think Jed Spence is his best option of going for a more creative wingback. I know a lot of fans wanted that right wing back to be more of like a higher quality, someone that could be creative from those wide areas, similar to how Perisic is, because a huge part of Conte's system is having those wing backs be very creative in those wide areas. And it feels like with the likes of Emerson, with the likes of Doherty, with the likes of Spence, we're not fully convinced yet. And I feel like if Conte were to maybe try something, if he wanted something different, he should just go with Spence, because I think Spence could be an interesting choice for him. He has that pace, he has that dynamism on the ball. Doherty, at least for me, I don't know if he has the pace or that dynamism to really keep it up at a consistent level in the Premier League. I think he could be useful tomorrow against Fulham, but if he consists with that, or if he continues to persist with Emerson, could be a real concern, I think, for us Spurs fans, because that means he's not using the new right wing back signing in Spence. We basically paid close to £20 million for, and then as well in Doherty, and that a lot of people thought Doherty was the preferred choice. If he continues to persist with Emerson, then shows that he really isn't the first choice. And I think a lot of Spurs fans might be really unhappy, because I know he's a very divisive character. But everybody, those are kind of my thoughts on, kind of some transfer window kind of talking points, some transfer window kind of, thoughts, if you will. I know there's plenty more to discuss. And but everybody, those are kind of my initial thoughts. I'm just going to get to the comments, make sure I didn't miss anything good. Hotspur J in the house saying good window on the whole. Go again in January, and we see if we can get those missing pieces. A few missing pieces that I mentioned. Again, I think we really should have pushed for another center back at least. But Hotspur J, hopefully we can at least last until January, and then Spurs can have some money in the bank. Felipe Sergio saying, if Conte stays beyond the season, I think we will try 3-5-2 in the future. We just need a good opportunity to sign a world-class right wing back to offset the lack of another attacker in that formation. It looks like we are being dominated in the midfield plenty of times, Felipe. It seems like it's not a huge concern for Conte, at least in some regard, but I would like to probably go with that 3-5-2 a bit more often, if you ask me, Felipe. Big up, my man. Jiu-Jitsu saying the club pulled the wool over our eyes, perhaps maybe towards the end of the season, my man. Wembley saying the Madison rumors were so ridiculous, it wouldn't surprise me if the club put that one around at Levy's prompting. Interesting there. Mick Hermalak saying I'll be back in a half an hour. Good to see you, Mick, and really appreciate you. And then P-Dub saying I got busy at the Zool, LOL. I'm disappointed at how we finished. Conte, it's for Conte, seems to feel the same. I see where you're coming from, P Dubs, and hopefully we catch you Monday. Hopefully you be around Monday, brother. But enjoy your day at the zoo, P Dubs. But really do appreciate you tuning in. Big up USA Spurs. Big up Jacob. Hopefully it's Jacob, and you're keeping well. I can't make it, I think, for that show later, my man. I have a few errands to run, but hopefully Dave can keep you good company. Big up, brother. And Jason Bell's in the house as well. He's saying, I think we've improved, but not as much as I hope. Let's see what happens in January. It's exactly actually how I feel, actually, Jason. Not as much as we hoped. Adrian Chia lastly saying Bastoni was the difference, by the way. A great window versus a decent one. And like I said, it was really getting two center backs. Felt like Spurs were going to get two center backs. They were steadfast on signing two, and they really signed only one on loan. So it really was probably, I think, the biggest fail of the window. If you were to look for the biggest fail in the window, definitely, I think, in the defensive department, because at least we did sign a backup striker for Kane. We did actually beef up the midfield in the case of Basuma, and you had to look at also Skip as sort of kind of a new signing as well, because he can do a great job. Bentancur, we already improved in. So we have four quality midfielders who are all similar, but also different from each other in that midfield. So I know maybe people want a bit more there, but I think we did at least address some key problems there. Right wing back, we have plenty of options. Whether Conte likes any of them is up for debate, but I think you still have to look at the center back areas as probably the biggest fail of the window, if anything. Adrian, big up, my man. But let's move into the fan show here, everybody. And we're going to bring on a regular in Dermot from THFC Till I Die. Dermot, how you keeping?
Not too bad. I've actually found out I can use a green. I can actually put something against my window. I can actually use a background for the first time. So I'm just trying it out. So
looks gorgeous. Looks gorgeous.
I didn't even know you could do it, and I've just put something up against where I usually have my back windows, and suddenly it works. So I thought, why not come on and try it?
Yeah, there you are. But what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the Fulham match ahead, or would you like to maybe get some thoughts on the transfer, window? I did, touch maybe a few things people haven't spoken about, like Brian Hill with maybe a bit of a cryptic Instagram message. Spurs, like I stressed, maybe the big fail of the window was perhaps not getting two center backs in. We only really got one. I think that could have been a big miss. What are your thoughts on that? I know David is also kind of upset with that as well, because I think if we had signed two center backs, I think David would maybe be a bit happier about this window.
Do you know what? I probably have to agree with David. I think we missed out on the centre backs. I think, look, you can get players that don't want to come. If they don't want to come, you can't drag them to the club, or maybe they weren't available. But we could have pushed that boat out a little bit more. But it's been a good window. We've got players in certain areas. Our midfield is probably the best it's been for a while. We've got a backup for Harry Kane, which we've been crying out for now for a long time. And he can cover Cooley, Harry, or Sonny. So we've got the front three covered. Mm-hmm. Look, we've got Romero, we've got Longley. We've got enough to keep us going to January. And if we have to then upgrade in January, we can upgrade in January. I don't think I see a lot of fans saying it's a bad window. We haven't done this. We haven't done that. Look, we're dealt with the squad we're dealt with. Let's all get behind the team now and move forward. There's nothing we can do now. As I said,
do you think Conte with his, I think his press conference was, it's hard to tell whether he was really hiding something or not. I think he did show maybe a bit of sign of discontent. At the same time, if you were to really dig for it, I think you could be digging too much. It felt like he did show a bit of discontent, but he also perhaps maybe expected, it to be this way. Maybe this wasn't exactly a shock for him.
Look, show me a manager who is ever going to be generally happy after a window. As a manager, you always want more. You always want that extra player or that extra defender or an extra attacker. Conte's Italian. He's passionate, so he's always going to be passionate in his press conference. Look, I would have been delighted if I've been crying out for another centre-back to cover Sanchez, myself, or Dyer. Look, whatever happens, we haven't got it. I'm disappointed, but I'm not disappointed with the window itself. So I think we need to just get behind the team and just move forward to January. We've got a good squad. We've got a squad that's capable of winning something. We're unbeaten. We're third in the league. We should beat Fulham tomorrow. If hopefully Romero's back and Longley play. And then let's take it from there. Let's not be too downbeat. If we didn't sign anyone, it would be far worse. We were worst last year when we couldn't even get a manager. So let's just, the centre-back bit doesn't does piss me off. But look, we've got January, and I think we've got a good enough squad to take us to January, to be fair.
Conte sort of alluded to not really building this squad up enough to kind of maybe close the gap with the likes of Man City. I think especially is the one that he feels, with like Man City is the one where he feels like Spurs aren't really close to. If we were going to get that done in one window, it sort of feels like we would have to have spent, maybe close to 100 million, maybe 150 million more, and would have had to have been the biggest spenders of the window. To be fair to people who are frustrated with this window, Spurs had the most financial wiggle room, at least when it comes to financial fair play,
Yeah.
to spend the most this window, while other clubs like the likes of Chelsea, I think Arsenal and whatnot, they're actually kind of getting close to breaching financial fair play or financial fair play. They're getting close to, being under, I think even one of them is under investigation right now. Spurs didn't even get close to, getting close to their financial fair play limit, which is maybe why some Spurs fans could be a bit upset, is that we know that we could have spent a lot, but we didn't actually spend that much that we maybe know that we could have, perhaps.
Look, I understand fans are going to be upset. Fans are never going to be happy. We always want more. We always want that extra player. Yeah, I wish we got Bastoni. I wish we got, DG from Inter Milan as well. But if the clubs don't want to sell, Bastoni didn't want to come. So we can't sort of put all our eggs in one basket and go after one defender and have no plan B. Or we just spend money willy-nilly buying players for the sake of buying players. We've done that before. Look where it ended up. We blew the Gareth Bale money, and out of 7 players, 1 player was come up to be really world class. So I think that you can spend, and not end up with the right project, the right thing at the end of the day. Yeah. Or you can be frugal and think, right, we get players that we can get in. We've got now between now and January to work on the rest. And I bet you any money Paratici is now working towards January and next summer.
Yeah.
And Conte's already said that, look, it's going to take 2 windows for us to be really competitive. So, look, if Conte's saying that, Conte's never going to be happy because managers want players now. They want all the players in. So, but look, I trust Conte and Paratici's plan. I'm on the board the train. Let's get behind them and let's stop arguing and let's back the team, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, the team on the pitch. Let's get behind the lads.
Would you like to see Judd Spence maybe come in this Saturday? Because Emerson is frustrating, I think, fans at this moment in time, at least in possession, maybe not defensively, but at least in possession. We're coming up against Fulham. Conte did say he would rotate the squad a bit, Dermot. Would you like to see Judd Spence come in? Would you like to see Doherty come in tomorrow?
I've been a big fan of Judd Spence. I mean, last year he ripped up. For me, he was the best player in Nottingham Forest. I was really impressed with him. I would love to see him come on, get a start tomorrow, and let's see what he can do. I mean, this lad can be as good as Kyle Walker at the end of the day. That's how much I rate him. I know a lot of other fans don't rate him, but I think he's a really good player. I think also we need to see the likes of Papasara as well. Put him in there. Let's put these young players. Let's give them a chance. But I do think Spence is our future, so we need to start playing them now. Doherty, he's great as a backup. Emerson, he's grown on me, Emerson. I thought he's played well to start this season. I think he started well, though he cannot cross to save his life, bless him. But we're not all good at everything. But I think he has improved. So, to me, let's get behind these players. Let's not start tearing them to shreds and saying he's useless and he's crap. We all know Sanchez and Dyer have a mistake in them. We all know Emerson can't cross a ball to save his life. But they're part of the team, like Judd Spence. Let's get behind these players and back them. And if they do wrong, we have a right to criticise them. But it's the day before the game. Let's get behind the team. Let's get behind Judd Spence, and I hope he starts tomorrow because I hope he proves a few people wrong.
Yeah, love that, Dermot. You want to talk about Fulham? Maybe give a bit of a preview into that one. Are Fulham going to be a tough opponent? Have you been impressed with Marco Silva's team
I,
so far?
I have been very impressed with Fulham, especially with their striker as well. I think he's really dangerous. And if if Sanchez, Dave said in our show last night, if Sanchez or Dyer play, he would skin both of them, give them half a chance. So we've really got to mark him tightly. But we should be beating Fulham. Let's be fair. These teams we should be beating. They're a championship side. They've come up. Let's beat these teams. And I think we'll win. I think we'll win 3-1. I think Harry Kane will get one. I think Richie will get his first go for Spurs as well tomorrow. And I think we'll be too strong for Fulham. But they are a good side. If you give them half a chance, they will get one in. But we
They
should
seem a
be
bit more
able to beat
attacking
Fulham.
this year, in my
Mm,
eyes. Marco Silva's team seemed to be a bit more
mm,
attacking than previous Fulham. Scott Parker's, they were a bit more kind of used to that long ball, like to
mm.
play it up to whoever it was from. I think Joachim Anderson is who they actually had back then. They
Yeah.
would kind of hit long balls up to the strikers or up to the forwards, and it
Mm.
was kind of not really very attractive football. Whereas what Marco Silva's kind of doing over there is quite impressive. And
It
that one
is.
guy, Mitrovic, has even
Mm.
sort of rejuvenated his career. In fact,
Mm.
sort of under Marco Silva.
I mean, there was questions, could he do it in the Premier League? I mean, he had a very successful championship season
Yeah,
last year, and he's proved he can do it in the Premier League. For me, Fulham should have beaten Liverpool on the opening day of the season. They rarely outplayed and outfought Liverpool. And I do think Fulham will stay up. I think they will have enough to stay up. But we should be beating these teams tomorrow. We need to beat these teams to continue. This is where we need to pick up these 6 pointers, like, if you know what I mean. These are the points where we need to pick up, and we will beat Fulham tomorrow. And look, I have no doubt that we'll get three. We will remain unbeaten to the World Cup. I think we will. I think we're actually. I think we've got a good enough squad. When they're all firing on all cylinders, I think we'll be a team to match anyone.
yeah. I feel it. Being unbeaten until then would be absolutely spectacular. It probably means we're going to have to grind out some
Mm,
results, Dermot. That's for sure. But we have
mm,
shown that we can do it. And even the West Ham game, yet again,
mm,
another example that Spurs, they don't even put in a full 90 minutes of complete performance, and we're
mm.
still sort of getting results. Do you want that? I think tomorrow against Fulham, maybe more of a complete performance.
Yeah, look, let's be honest. We haven't been playing well, but we've been picking up points. We're 8 points more than we were this time, than last season. Yeah, I wanted to play free flowing football. I'm like Ellie. I like the Spurs to play the Spurs way, but we have to play to our strengths. And at the moment, we cannot play like that. I know it's frustrating. I know it's annoying that we can't play the free flowing football that we used to, but we need to. Conte's playing to our strengths, but we need a good performance tomorrow. We need to step up again now.
Mm.
Um, we've got Chelsea, we've got West Ham out of the way. West Ham was very disappointing. I know it's a point,
Because we knew we should
but
have won.
it's a
Yeah.
game we should have won. That throw-in should never have been allowed in the first place.
Yeah.
As we said in the background, Holberg was talking to the referee, switched off.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We shouldn't have lost that game, but the way we went in the second half, we just crumbled, and
Yeah.
that is worrying. For a
It is
go into
worrying.
West Ham, and we're falling apart. That's not a Conte style team.
It's
So we
strange as
have.
well, where it was the opposite of. I felt like we were the best team in the first half, and
Mm,
then normally that second half or that halftime team talk or that halftime speech from Conte
mm,
usually makes the team even better. But
mm.
I don't know. I'm not saying it made them worse, but we somehow were actually a worse team. It felt like coming on into the second half, despite being, by the looks of it, a decent team in the first half. We were playing them out of the park. It felt like at certain stages in the first
Did
half.
it seem to you we were leggy? We were tired in that second half.
I think we
We
got
seemed
really
on
rattled
out
by a few
steam.
different things. I think we
Mm,
got really rattled by the decisions by the referee when it came to that penalty. We still kept playing well after that
mm,
penalty. Don't get me wrong. I think we got rattled by Basuma's yellow card and the
mm-hmm,
referee giving him a yellow card for probably what was in his own right, a poor decision, slamming the ball into the ground. But I could see Basuma's frustration, like he was 7 yards away from the player, and the referee gave a free kick for him not even being, even near the player. And I could see why. And that happened, I think, just moments after the penalty as well, which I could see why Basuma was a bit frustrated.
Don't get started me on that referee. I mean, he was well and truly.
It just sort of felt maybe Spurs just got a bit rattled, but I don't really see why they were, if you ask me, Dermot, because again, we were much better than them in the first half. We had that confidence and probably knowing we should have been 2-0 up. Maybe things just didn't go. Maybe David Moyes did something differently that we were frustrated with, or that we, couldn't deal with. But it really felt like Spurs should have been able to seal out at least 1-0. I just don't think West Ham, even despite maybe what they did differently in the second half, I don't even think they did anything in their own right that sort of deserved a goal. It felt like any sort of chance they were given was sort of given by us. It wasn't self-created by them.
No, it was, but the referee was diabolical. I mean, we're not looking for excuses here. We played bad second half. Let's not get away from that. But the referee was walking around, as Dave says, with a West Ham top on. Let's be fair. I mean, his dressing room must have been full of jelly Jills, bubbles, and Barney the dinosaur ready to give him a rub down after the game.
He definitely smelled like bubbles afterwards, I'll tell you that, Dermot.
I mean, that must have been a deal breaker. Look, we'll put Barney the dinosaur in your dressing room for you after the game so he can pat you on the back and that if you make things go our way. I mean, that referee should never referee another game again. He was absolutely atrocious. But
needs a week off, that ref. Needs a week off, needs to get his head straight, Dermot.
Yeah, but Dave, it still doesn't come away from the fact we crumbled under an atmosphere like that. We should not be crumbling like that. It's a mentality, and it's worrying that Conte is saying in the press conference, we're learning how to cope with atmospheres like that. Put me out there, put you out there, put Dave out there, put people in the chat out there. We wouldn't crumble.
Yeah.
Right, they have to have the mentality, we will not be beaten by you or by anyone.
Definitely.
They should be wearing the shirt with pride. And you look at Harry Kane, you look at Sonny, there's players in the Holberg is an example of that. Never say die attitude. The rest of the players have to get that mentality. Never say die. And that's what we need to get into our system.
Absolutely, my man. Dark Sun G saying we need Son, Basuma, and Richie to score before the Champions League next week. I'd love to see Richie score tomorrow, Dark Sun G. Yes. I expect him to start. I think Basuma probably will be given a start again. I'd be disappointed if Conte took him out. I think he should be given another start, especially at home. That last one was a London derby away from home. Tough match. I thought he played well in the first half and then just completely capitulated in the second. But you got to give him that chance. We know there's an excellent player in there. And then we do need Sonny to score before the Champions League next week, Dark Sun G. But how is that going to happen? Maybe coming on off the bench. Is he going to play with Richie and Kane? I guess that could be an interesting sort of lineup. Let me know, Dark Sun G. We also have Tony answering that question there, saying Fulham will not be easy for sure, or not be easy for us. They are a much different Fulham this time around, Tony. Kev Williams saying, why doesn't Conte want to play Spence? I'm not sure. He doesn't seem to have much trust in the guy. And it could also have to do with the fact that Conte, knowing that he has to close the gap with the likes of Man City, knowing he has to push for top four, could be the case that he really just doesn't trust Spence. But he's got to maybe trial Spence in order to trust Spence. You never know, I guess, what he could produce out there. But then I guess Antonio Conte, Kev, he's there every day with Jed Spence. If he doesn't trust him, I can't force the manager to trust him. I really can't. And then that just sort of falls on Levy, because I think it is sort of a Levy signing. Jed Spence, I think it was made quite clear that it wasn't really Paratici or Conte signing. So I guess it just falls on Levy if he doesn't actually like him, or if he doesn't actually want to use him. But that would be disappointment, because I think Jed Spence has a lot to offer that Conte could like. Very quick, very dynamic, really good dribbler, knows how to, get down the byline and whatnot and put a ball in. And maybe it might not be a high quality cross, but at least he's a bit more dynamic than the rest of our right wing backs. I think he offers something special, but definitely Kev Williams. Appreciate it, my man. And then as well, we also got a super chat from Dark Sun G saying, we need our players to give a ball to Son in space, and he will deliver. After Bentancur and Kulu joined, at least we are undefeated in London derbies. Bentancur didn't play versus West Ham. And also, I think we're undefeated at home London derbies, at least in the last 5 or last 4 or something, Dark Sun G. I think this could be the 5th home London derby that we could win in a row, which could be a big feat for us. And I think it'd be really good to see Spurs kind of bounce back from maybe a mediocre performance against West Ham and really get a convincing win in a London derby against Fulham, especially Fulham, like we said before, Dark Sun G, much better one than before. Sonny, I actually thought was in really good spaces in the first half. I saw him taking up really good spaces through the middle. Felt like if we couldn't put in a good ball to the likes of Sonny, he would have been able to get onto the end of it. Just, I don't know. And then the second half, he sort of disappeared. But I thought he actually played really well in the first half, Dark Sun G, or at least a lot better than what we're used to. And he would have scored, had it not been for Tilo Kehrer deciding to put it in himself as well. But big up, my man. Really appreciate you. And Philip Brady in the house saying, big performance needed tomorrow ahead of a big Champions League week. Then Man City, expect rotation ahead of a heavy schedule, and it's going to be really tough to predict. This rotation, Philip. Could be a new right wing back coming into it tomorrow. I expect Richarlison to come in for the likes of Kulusevski or Son, and I do think Basuma should at least keep his spot, be given another game. Who knows? Maybe Højbjerg might be subbed out. Skippy could be coming into the team. Longley could go in for Ben Davies as well. Romero, hopefully, is going to be able to play because we need to get him some minutes back. And we also just need to see a center back that's actually competent on the ball. But yeah, expect heavy rotation. And before these Champions League games, before the Man City game, we are going to need to get some confidence. Absolutely, Mr. Philip Brady. Big yourself up, brother. Dark Sun G saying Basuma will learn not to toss or lose the ball or toss the ball again. Yeah, it was actually pretty immature from him. But again, like I said, you could see where he's coming from because he did basically, watch the referee not give us a penalty right in front of his eyes after VAR. And then just moments later, he was giving away a foul when Basuma was yards away from the player. And the player just went down for just a tiny ankle injury or whatever it was. I mean, the referee could not see straight, could not see 6 yards in front of him, Dark Sun G. So you could see why Basuma was frustrated. But it was also a very immature action, my man. But it was poor from him. But Dermot, I'm going to plug the channel, THFC Till I Die. Anything we should be looking forward to, my man? And we do appreciate you coming on as well, brother.
Yeah, look, before I plug the channel, I've been thinking this and I want to say this. Look, we cannot, let's back the team tomorrow. We've got Romero back. We've got Longley to come in. We've got all these new players to come in. Let's get behind the team. Let's get behind Conte and Paratici. It doesn't matter if you Levy out, Levy in, or Levy in the middle. It's the team on Tottenham Hotspur we need to back. We will be successful. We will win a cup this year. Let's get behind the team and let's leave all the infighting behind us and all be united. A united fan base, no one will beat us. A united Tottenham Hotspur will win the league. I'm THC Till I Die. We've got the watch along tomorrow, Fulham. Philip Brady and Izan's joining me. Then we've got the post-match show on Sunday. And then on Tuesday, we have the pre-match to our Champions League game against Marseille. And then we've got the watch along on Wednesday and then the post-match on Thursday. And then we'll start again then for the games then at the weekend. So we've got a lot coming up. We've got the special show coming up next week to celebrate Tottenham's 140th birthday on the 5th of September, where we will be going back to the roots of Tottenham, where they're founded, who founded them, and go right through the whole history of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. So yeah, we've got a few things going over there. Me, Ellie, Philip Brady, Izan, and Mark Cousins. So come over there, hit a like, hit subscribe, and we've got a lot of good content coming up. But please first hit a like and subscribe here on flatcapeurotalk and Dave's channel at the IrishHotspur as well. These lads deserve it. And thanks for having me on, Jack. And, come on, you Spurs, and we will win tomorrow.
Appreciate you coming on, Dermot. Everybody show THFC Till I Die. Bit of love. Hit that big red sub button, everybody. Show them some love. Plenty of content.
We don't like the colour red. We hate the colour red. We need to turn it white.
Smash it. So that's why you smash it, Dermot. But they got the Godfather over there. They got Ellie over there. Izhan, plenty of the regulars that you love over on this channel. So please show them a bit of love. Really good channel over there. But Dermot, appreciate you coming on, brother.
You too, brother. Thank you much. And come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. We'll be seeing it. Everybody, show Dermot a bit of love, please, in the chat. Dark Sun G saying the only positive of the draw is that at least we got a point in a derby, unlike Liverpool, who lost to a draws Man United and a very boring Northwest derby. Exactly right, Dark Sun G. We didn't have to play very well to still get a point out of it. And I still think we were the better team than West Ham, despite how atrocious we did look, in the second half. I thought our first half performance showed that we could easily play them out the park at, certain moments. And if only we could keep that up for 90 minutes. I just don't know really what went wrong, but still undefeated, and or at least still not getting the loss, or at least dropping points in a London derby compared to the days over at Nuno. Dark Sun G, don't even need to have to tell you about that, how atrocious he made our London derby record look. So it is good to see that Conte is still able to get the points, still able to get the results in these sort of big games, brother. Absolutely. And Liverpool feels like they're sort of riding out these kind of results right now. They're not even still looking very convincing. So it could be interesting to see how they continue to go about it, because despite that 9-0 win, I don't really feel like they were even that convincing against the likes of Newcastle. And Newcastle, in fact, probably a bit unlucky not to get out of there with a point, if you ask me. But big up, Dark Sun G, big up, my man. And also as well, he says, Cootie, Skip are two players who need to play, and they have the passion. I'd like to see Skip come in just to get the minutes, also to rest Højbjerg. And then as well, I'd like to see Romero come in just because we actually need a competent center back on the ball. But thank you very much, Dark Sun G. I could not agree more. Just going to take a few more comments. Christian saying Mitra will be a hard opponent. He's an absolute monster. Christian, he's an absolute monster. Leslie saying the atmosphere isn't as good at home when we face the smaller teams. That needs to change. David has said this before, Leslie. Needs to be more like that, where you want to see kind of the TIFO banners out. You want to see the fans unite. You want to see maybe something organized, by the club, where they do make it into a big atmosphere. I think part of it even falls on the club, not even the fans. Big up, Leslie. Well, William Pretty saying, I want our front three to be Kulu, Kane, and Richarlison. So he does want Sonny to be dropped. And William, it would be interesting. Where would Richarlison play? Would he play right wing? Would he play left wing? Do let me know. Tequila saying, please, I'm begging you, no more Sanchez. Thank you. Big up, Tequila. And then Dark Sun G saying, before we bring on Rufus, and then special guest saying, I find it amusing as a Korean that Kang In Lee and Kim Min Jae scored before our star Sonny. He will score within our next two games. Hopefully, Son scores before City. When it comes to Kang In Lee, Dark Sun G, is he still over at Mallorca? I didn't see where he ended up moving. Was it just a loan spell there, or is he still at Mallorca? Let me know. And then Kim Min Jae has looked absolutely fabulous for Napoli. He is an unbelievable Koulibaly replacement. And to even say that, I think it's huge compliments to Kim Min Jae. And of course, you probably knew that he could be that good. But a lot of Spurs fans who probably did want the guy maybe didn't expect him to be such a good Koulibaly replacement. And I think those are huge boots to fill, and he's really showing it well. He looks like an absolute natural in the Serie A. Dark Sun G looks like an absolute natural. And then Kang In Lee, let me know if he's still at Mallorca, my man, because I didn't actually get too much of his season last season, but I still feel like Spurs could still keep an eye on the kid, because definitely do. But we're going to move on, bring on our two Germans, or two Englishmen out in Germany, and see what they have to say about the window, as well as the upcoming Fulham game. Rufus, Jacob, how we keeping?
Hiya, we're fine. Interesting.
All good to hear, all good to hear. Do you guys want to talk about the window, talk about the Fulham game? Where do you want to start?
I will start with the window.
Yeah.
All right.
Jacob has a really big point about the window that we
Take it
picked
away.
up in the West Ham game, and he'd
Take it
like
away.
to throw that in the first.
The thing is, what annoys me about our window is definitely we missed out on centre backs, 100%. I'm on your side on that. But one thing that, like, against West Ham, we had this foul against Højbjerg, where he was already having his hand up in the air, and it looked really bad. Luckily, at the end, it wasn't too bad. But at that moment, I really had a shocker, because if Højbjerg would have been injured now, I mean, and that looked really bad. That would have been, what's the German word? The English word for that? Außenbänder. Outside of your foot. Do you know what I mean? And if you got an injury there, you're out for the next few weeks. Definitely.
You think in Højbjerg's case, with Declan Rice's challenge on him?
Exactly
Yeah.
that one.
Do you think he rolled his ankle? Maybe they're hiding it. Do you
I
think
mean,
Højbjerg's
his
gonna
hand
start?
up went straight away. Even Højbjerg was frightened. I mean, his hand went up straight away. There was no hesitation there.
And we know Højbjerg. He only does this if there's really something wrong. And And that for me was a big shocker, because what if Højbjerg is out? We definitely missed out on centre backs. No, there's no question about that. But we've bought players over the transfer window that we got Perisic, yeah, but for Højbjerg we don't have a replacement. If he's gone, how do
you replace Højbjerg then? Because a lot of people don't really rate Højbjerg, Jacob. I don't want to crush your hopes here, but a lot of people actually want to see Højbjerg drop. They're not big fans of his, and I feel like they would rather see Bentancur and Basuma play.
Sorry, I have to correct you there, Jack. Both of us don't want to see him dropped.
I know, but that's what's interesting is, you think we don't have a Højbjerg replacement, but a lot of people, a lot of Spurs fans wanted to see Højbjerg go.
Okay. No. The problem has been this season is everybody's trying to flood us on the flanks. And that's sort of bypassing the midfield. And everybody's saying our midfield is really bad at the moment. It's not, but like if you look at the possession, when you, after the game, when you look at these possession statistics, where you see the dots, most of the fight has been down the flanks, not in the midfield.
Is that because teams are forcing us out there, do you think?
Yeah. Definitely. Extra. Definitely. Yeah. The only thing I want to criticise Højbjerg about is talking to the referee, losing his player and costing us a goal against West Ham.
Yeah, he looked poor there, lads. He looked poor there.
My friends.
No, he looked poor there. I mean, believe me. And what's weird, again, I thought it was a bit similar.
I didn't mean to swear there, sorry. But
oh, good, Rufus. It's your time, anyways. It's your therapy. Højbjerg, I thought, was like Basuma, where I thought he looked exceptional in the first half, and then he does all this, like you guys are saying. He's ball watching in the second half, maybe pushing on with an injury he doesn't need to. He sort of collapsed, I felt like, in the second half, Højbjerg, after having such a good first half, because he was playing such delicious balls over the top. He was able to turn and pick out some, passes. I thought he was spraying it all over the place really well, and kind of similar to Basuma, fell apart in the second half.
Yeah, definitely. But no. I think from the start of the second half, Højbjerg just looked bad because his boot was broken. Right, he had to get that fixed. It was just not up and down.
Should he have been taken off in your eyes? Should Skippy or something have come on? Or was Conte maybe just trying to push out and perhaps just get the result? Maybe
I would have actually liked to see Skip come on at that point. Because I mean he is our obvious replacement for Højbjerg if Højbjerg is injured. We don't have anybody else other than Skip.
Back to that original question, though. So, Jacob, why do you feel like we don't have a Højbjerg replacement? Is it that leadership that he brings? Is it just that steel or something? Like, what is it that maybe we don't have? Why don't we have another Højbjerg?
It's more or less that leadership. He's just he's such a for me he's such a solid point in our midfield. He makes good choices. I think so. He makes good choices in that midfield, and if he misses out, we just got one key point going from midfield forward. Because, maybe our forward three haven't been the best in the last few games, but Højbjerg brings a lot of ideas in there, and he's a big point in that front three. He delivers the balls to Kulusevski. He delivers the ball to Kane mostly, and if he misses out on that. And that's why I'm on that side with Skip, because he should in future as well let Skip have a try and get used to the team under Premier League pressure. That's that. So if anything happens, like with Højbjerg, he's used to it. He knows what he's doing now.
Because we haven't replaced the Højbjerg. It's the one player we don't have a second player for at the moment, other than Skip.
Yeah, and
injured.
He just came out though about Basuma, lads. Just to back up Jacob here, he just spoke about Basuma, saying Basuma, while still a great player or whatever the quote was, is still not at the level of Bentancur and Højbjerg. So he sort of agrees with you, Jacob, that Basuma was sort of a player a lot of people thought would outplace Højbjerg right away. I guess Conte doesn't exactly see it that way.
Yeah, but what was? Do this question again. I just didn't get it right.
No, it's just Basuma. It seems like Conte right now doesn't actually rate Basuma as highly as Højbjerg, and he made kind of a good point of that. And a lot of people were big fans of Basuma and thinking he's actually, in fact, secretly our best midfielder because he was really good for Brighton.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on that side, 100%.
But it's like he wasn't brought as a direct replacement. He was brought, in my opinion, a bit more as an attacking midfielder, which is what a lot of people said we didn't buy, because I don't know, when you watch our game against Brighton last year, I mean, he was very much more an attacking midfielder than he was a holding midfielder.
Yeah,
in my opinion, and I think that it's a bit in the reflection of that performance that we brought him.
Yeah, I know what you guys mean. Do you feel like Bentancur, with him having a concussion as well, could this mean that Skippy perhaps might go into this game, tomorrow? Will he be started, or do you think Højbjerg is actually okay? Because I haven't seen any news of Højbjerg actually being hurt, so perhaps we got away with one there with that ankle rollout. So he could be available still. Will it be Højbjerg and Basuma again? What do you think will be the midfield combo for tomorrow?
I think Conte will have the same starting formation as last game, and that's because I don't really know.
Do you think Richie will come in? Richie might come in for Sonny or for Kulusevski?
I would love to see that, honestly, and he's deserved it. Richarlison deserves to start. To have a start. Honestly, he played. Every time he came on the pitch, when he got in, something just started to boil up in the front three. Honestly, I love seeing Richarlison. That cross he brought to Kane against Forest. That was amazing. Honestly, I now want to see more of that. But Son doesn't bring these things at the moment, and that's why I think Son should just take a minute, breathe in, maybe take a vacation, whatever, have a bit of training somewhere else, and then get back to it. And it's not the Son I know, because Son is, honestly, he's one of my favourite players, and he's just not shown to me what he's been showing all these last years.
Do you think he's making Son do something different? Do you think Son is perhaps playing a sort of a different role, maybe not playing within his comfort zone?
I don't think he's in a comfort zone with Perisic.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because they're both so attacking.
Because he's used to fast balls, and I haven't seen a lot of fast balls coming out of the midfield to Son that much.
Interesting.
And
a lot of his service comes from Harry Kane.
Precise balls where he can just go for a run and get into the box, and then do what Son needs to do, But I haven't
the balls
seen
have been
that.
precise, but they've been a lot shorter.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Also, Kane isn't dropping deep, which is a huge part of Son's service, right? Is Kane dropping deep to then play Son in behind, and we haven't actually seen that as much. It feels like Kane is actually playing more of a striker, if anything, like actually being in the box a bit more. He's not dropping deep as much, if you ask me.
Yeah, and it's the same for me for Kane. He may be scoring goals at the moment, and he may not. He's playing well, but it's just not the Son and Kane combination. I love seeing them two having their thing going on at front, but that's not the case at the moment, honestly. I think, and you're right. Son is just not in his comfort zone. Where he likes to be, and he needs to either change that up or get that back. But something needs to happen there, definitely.
Do you guys want to talk about the transfer window, or do you want to move into the Fulham match?
Oh, I'd love to move into the Fulham match.
Fulham match. Yeah, we're going to the Fulham match.
Should we talk about the big itch up top, Mr. Mitrovic? Will he cause us problems?
Scored in every game.
He's an absolute monster. I'm a big fan of his, I must say. I'm a huge fan of his.
I mean, now it's time for me to talk. He's not the greatest player in the world.
I think he is. I think he's secretly the best player in the world. I love Mitrovic.
he's not the fittest. He's not got the greatest physique. But like, hey, nobody can criticize him. He scored a goal a game.
I think he has, in fact, 5 of 8 of their goals. And as well, I think it's Lewis Dunk, even for Brighton, has one of Fulham's goals. So there's only one other player or 2 other players that have actually scored for Fulham this season. It's been all Mitrovic, but I guess they needed it to be all Mitrovic, if you know what I mean, lads. In order for a team like Fulham to really survive, you sort of do need to depend on your strikers, if you know what I mean. It kind of it turns into that situation where they're not like Spurs, where Spurs can rely on a Kulusevski, they can rely on a Sonny, they can rely on a Richarlison if things go wrong. Like for teams like Fulham, it basically all depends on Mitrovic, and it all depends on it going well for him, and it has been. So will he be a threat to our center backs? Will he cause Dyer problems? Will he cause maybe a Davies problems?
The way I see it is Fulham parked the bus and put all the responsibility on Mitrovic, and he has delivered in every game so far.
Oops, sorry.
I mean, Mitrovic has delivered in every game so far, and they have basically parked the bus and just shipped the ball to Mitrovic at every chance they've got, and he's got the goals for them. You can't deny it. You actually can't deny it. It's going to be dangerous. He's hungry. I wouldn't say he's the fittest or the best, or he's going to be a world changer. But at the moment,
I think he's just. I think what you call him, he's a world-class donkey. He's a world-class donkey of a striker. I think that's what he is. You know, on his day, he really is. He really is tough.
The runs down the right he makes, they're just unbelievable. Honestly, every game I watched him play, the goals he gets, he's just running there and he's just at the exact spot where he needs to be and just scores it.
A lot of people are saying in the comments they want Romero to basically be responsible for Mitrovic. Is that possible? Because I feel like he plays mostly through the middle. At least when I looked at even his kind of heat map, he really plays mostly through the middle for kind of that hold-up play that Rufus was talking about. Will it be Dyer that will be responsible for him? Will it be Romero? How do you guys see that happening? Like, who's going to be?
If he comes up in the middle, it's going to have to be Dyer, and Dyer's going to pay drastically for that. I love Dyer. I mean, and we'll talk about that at the end of this chat about the transfer window. But Dyer, he's not the best footballer in the world, but he brings a lot to the back three in leadership qualities. And a lot of people are like not happy with the centre back position, but like, are we going to buy somebody that can't lead and stick him in there? No, we're not.
Interesting. I think it is going to be an interesting test for Eric Dyer because, like we saw with Antonio, he was able to hold up the ball, put that delicious sort of kind of that pass to Souček. I must say it was a gorgeous flick by Antonio. And it took a bit of class, you know, from someone like Antonio in order for them to get that goal. I'm a bit worried because I think Mitrovic is fully capable of that exact same thing, you know, pulling off something like that to help him. But then again, he has been the scorer for Fulham. So if anybody is going to score, it's likely to be him. A lot of his goals seem to come from kind of like taking advantage of somebody on the back post. You know, in certain situations, he loves to just climb up on them, kind of like a big bear, I would say. So it's going to be interesting who he'll come up against. But how do you guys see this unfolding? Is it going to be close game? Is it going to be maybe a convincing performance for Spurs? How do you see it going, lads?
For me, it depends what team we pick. If we pick a more adventurous team with a bit of change, I think we might win 3-1. If we just go for the same 11 as always, I think it's going to be
same as against Forest and West Ham,
because we just seem jaded. We just seem jaded from Korea. You know, maybe just with such a short summer, Korea was just really the wrong idea. I know it made us a lot of money. The Korea tour made us a lot of money. Nobody can deny that. It made us a lot of money. But
hopefully
maybe it was just a bit one step too far with such a short summer. Because everybody seems jaded. I'm not picking on Kane or Son or but most of the first 11, they had quite a good pre-season, but they just seem jaded since then.
Interesting. I feel like it could be, like you said, if Conte were to go for a lot of changes in the squad, a lot of rotation, perhaps we actually could have a more convincing performance. But if Conte were to stick with this same 11, stick with some of these players that are not in the best of form, or at least in the best of mindsets, could be a bit of a more doggy kind of performance that might be a bit more leggy. I agree. But lads, yeah, Rufus.
I would rather do that now for the Fulham game rather than the Marseille game.
Yeah.
It gives people a bit of hunger. If we go out and we win against Fulham with a different 11, then the next 11 that come out are going to try that much bit harder. And I think that's the trick we've been missing so far this season. We've not really ever... We paid... I didn't understand the internet comments when people were saying, we paid 150 million, we don't play them, we made no substitutes. I don't accept that. Because in the last game, we played 3 of the new signings. But the one thing is like, they have to come into the side, but they have to also come into the side at these proper moments so that they can prove themselves,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel you. Jacob, any last final words, my man, before we let you both go?
I just come on, you Spurs. Honestly, we're gonna win this tomorrow.
Come on, you Spurs!
Viel Spaß, lads. Viel Spaß.
Watching Tottenham on a Wednesday night. You watch Thursday because you're fucking shite. Oh, what a feeling, what a night.
Love it, boys. Have a good Friday. Enjoy your weekend, lads. Schönes Wochen, and speak to you soon. Catch you live. Bye. Big out our Germans, our big English lads out in Germany, everybody. Big up Rufus and Jacob. I had a really good conversation. It's nice to hear Jacob as well. Had some interesting thoughts on the West Ham game. And as much as I do love Højbjerg, he did not look so good there. But just want to get a few comments from the chat here saying, the Truth 82 saying, I disagree about Dyer's supposed leadership qualities. He points and shouts a lot, but doesn't often lead by example or take charge. He's a ball watcher, not good at defending set pieces either. I think Dave would certainly agree with you there, Mr. Truth. And then as well, I feel like there could be, I don't know, it could be in that Tyrone Mings kind of like mold. I feel like Eric Dyer, where he does shout and kind of point in a lot of things, but isn't exactly, like you said, a real leader by example. Is Tyrone Mings really a leader by example on the pitch? Perhaps a leader by example in terms of attitude, but that's about it. I feel like he is in that sort of kind of shaky Mings kind of, center back type where, yes, he is a leader, but he maybe could be improved upon. And I think we should go for probably something different, or at least have something competing with Eric Dyer. But right now we missed out on that opportunity. We didn't bring in a second center back. So probably might be stuck with him, my man. Probably might be stuck with him. Just getting a few other comments. There's too much science in the game now, so trainers know when players are tired. Yeah, definitely. I agree there, Claude. Roman numeral saying, from what we saw from Tanganga's bright performances, barring him losing his head, he's being very hard done by to not get a chance. I think he really should just move on to the likes of a Serie A, improve on his technical ability, because had we been able to move him on, it looks like we would have been able to bring in another center back. But I'm a bit disappointed in that, because it feels like we could have gone for like a Zerbani or someone like that Ukrainian international for center back. If we had to keep in Tanganga, it doesn't mean that we couldn't have signed another center back. So I'm a bit disappointed with that if Tanganga left, that meant we could sign a center back. It felt like it was such a crucial priority for Spurs that it shouldn't have really mattered, whether they moved on a center back or not. But that's just my opinion there. But we're going on to the last guest of this morning or of this afternoon, and it is our man out in Poland this time, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Michael, good to see you, Michael.
Yes, hello, Jack.
Where do you want to start? Transfer window, Fulham, where are we starting, my man? Because I know you like to, you have plenty to say.
Maybe let's start with Fulham, because I feel like it's less of a controversial talk and a more pleasant one, in my opinion.
I did have some, I don't know if you caught the beginning, but they're not, your typical transfer window kind of stuff. Like one of it was Brian Hill had a weird kind of cryptic Instagram post, maybe suggesting he did want to go to Valencia. We also have Spurs, like I said, missing out on 2 center backs. I kind of thought that was the priority. Had we done that, I feel like all Spurs fans should be probably a lot more content. But the fact that we didn't do that, I kind of see where they're coming from. Papa Matasar is staying. I have a bit of optimism about that because I actually think he should have stayed. At least he should have stayed in England. I think it would have been silly to move him out to Italy or France again. I think that just would have not benefited us at all. So the fact that he is staying, I think, is interesting. And so, yeah, and then also maybe the right wing back choices about how if Conte continues to persist with Emerson, like I kind of said in the beginning of the show, perhaps that just more says about that Jed Spence signing, and it says a lot also about Matt Doherty than I think about anything, because it doesn't say a lot about Emerson. Like if Conte continues to persist with Emerson, it just means he thinks Emerson is the best choice. It then says a lot about Matt Doherty, because if you ask me, maybe this is where we start, because it's not even that transfer related, Michael, because my thoughts were if Conte, let's say, plays Emerson the majority of the season, a lot of fans don't like Emerson and are very frustrated with Emerson. So that disappointment with the right wing back could be interesting, because that means kind of Daniel Levy's Jed Spence signing didn't really work out or really isn't preferred by Conte. And also that narrative that Conte preferred Doherty over Emerson then wasn't really true sort of either. Clearly Emerson is the preferred choice. Then again, there's still plenty of football to happen. Doherty could end up being the preferred choice. Spence could still be the preferred choice, but Emerson kind of being that guy that we all thought was going to be sold this summer and then ends up actually being the sort of preferred choice, I think is sort of interesting. Unexpected.
Yeah, so I feel like we'll see one of the other wing backs soon, just because of the amount of fixtures that we will be playing. I feel like, as far as I remember, it's 9 matches in October, so that's a lot. So just because of how the games will be, we will have to rotate, because the players can play a game every 3 days for 2 months, right? So yeah, but speaking of on Royal, I've said plenty. I am satisfied with his quality in defense. Like defensively, there is no issues in my opinion there. The problem is that, as we've talked plenty already, wing backs in this system are also have to also contribute to the attacking side of the match, right? So, I because I've when we are doing one of the shows previously, I've said, like, I argued a bit with David about Doherty and Royal, right? And I said I didn't want to say that the Doherty is better than Royal. I just feel like it would be nice to have him just because he's better offensively, because Kulu and Son can cover up for defensive mistakes of our wing backs, whereas if they are isolated in the forward line, and Kulu cannot use Royal to because you remember from those 6 or whatever the amount of games was that Doherty was here. I mean, when he was playing well, they linked up with Kulu brilliantly. Like, really, I know that the opposition wasn't the best, so of course it's easier to look good against an average opposition. But still, I feel like I just want to see some change for the sake of change. Like, I just want.
I agree with you.
And I have nothing against players. I as I said, I am
just want to see something different.
Yeah, I just want to see something different, just because it can also give a kick up the ass for other players to realize that I am not as nailed on as I think I am, right? And in terms of Spence, I just have a feeling that we won't see this guy soon.
Seems like that's where the disappointment then lies, right? Is right wing back again was a position that Spurs knew they should have upgraded in, and Spence, while perhaps was not the most, I don't know, wasn't everybody's first choice, we were kind of keeping the optimism that they did perhaps find a gem in there in that signing. But if Conte's not going to play him at all, then that is a bit of a worry.
That's really unfortunate. It also ties up for me with the Hill Instagram post, right? That the topic that you brought up. I just feel like he knows deep inside that he won't get much game time. Sorry, Jack, I hear a bit of echo.
Sorry, let me just mute.
Sorry. Yeah, so I just have a feeling that he has a feeling that he won't get much game time, and let's be honest, if he went to Valencia, he would get a lot of game time because they were playing him much when he was there on that loan spell, right? So he's a young player. He knows that he has to develop his career, and he can develop his career only by playing games, right?
Yeah.
And which he probably won't get here. Although all that being said, I hope that we use Spence and Hill, because if they are our players and they are the assets that we can utilize, then just we should do it, right? Whether Conte does it, it's a different thing, right? But also I am happy that Sar is in the squad. I also
Yeah.
don't feel like he will get a lot of game time, maybe some minutes here, some minutes there. But as far as I remember, the whole point of like when we were talking, when the journalists were talking whether he will go on another loan and all that stuff, they said explicitly that his family wants him to move to England and stay in England, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
that
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with you
go on,
there
Dermot.
on Papa Matasard. Also, if I'm not mistaken, he was sort of kind of criticized by Ali Gold for not having good English or not good enough English, at least according to Ali Gold. I thought that was a bit harsh, if you ask me, for only a 19-year-old who had just
Yeah,
recently moved from like another continent, as well, let alone from
yeah,
another
because
European
I
country.
guess he's from Senegal, right? So
He's
they
from
speak French.
Senegal, only recently moved from Senegal to France, then moves from France to England.
Yeah,
Like you just kind of, I feel like you cut the kid a break there. But point being though, getting onto it is that with him staying in England means he can learn English. He can be able to adapt to living here, which at some stage he will have to. If he has any future with this club, he
yeah,
will have to live here, and he'll climatize. And I think it's actually sort of like, considering his age, he's not 22, 23, where you want to start seeing some end product, kind of like, where Tengenga's at. Tengenga's at that age
yeah,
where we want to see some end product. But I feel like Papa Matasar has so much time on his hands. He's even younger, I think, than Brian Hill is, actually, to be fair to him. So it's just sort of, I don't know, it just feels like we can, keep him around. We can,
yeah. I
let
don't
him
mind him
develop.
staying. If he if he doesn't kick up a fuss and go all ballistic because he's not getting game time, then I'm fine with him being an option, right? Maybe because I know this will sound a bit naive, but the greatest player in football all started when they were like 16, 17, 18. You knew they were given a chance and you knew immediately that they had quality, right? And I'm not saying like that Papa Matarsar is the next Rooney or whatever, right? But maybe we give him a chance in a one-off game and he actually shows us something impressive. Maybe I'm open to giving him a chance. Same thing with Spence and Hill. I feel like I hope that we will give them a chance, right? And I also want to speak a bit on the transfer window because before it started, I think we were talking, and you asked me like which positions I would want to be covered, and how many players I wanted to see us bring in, right? And
Hmm.
as far as I remember, I said 5 or 6, and the positions I gave were center back, right wing back, left wing back, center mid, backup striker, and backup goalkeeper. I think that was what I said, right? And so technically we did all the things that I had in mind, right? But to be honest, I had like okay, I will say this. I am satisfied with the players that we brought in. I just thought that we will do a bit more in terms of like experienced players. I'm not necessarily saying splashing out the cash on every position and bringing in 80 million players in each of the 6 positions I mentioned, right? All I'm
Yeah.
saying is I probably wanted to see like Joachim Meile, on the right wing back, Kostic on the left wing back, right? Perisic. So that thing is sorted with Perisic, and same thing with Richarlison up top, right? I remember saying that I wanted to see us bring Konrad Leimer into the midfield, right? And that thing is sorted with Bisuma. The thing that I'm disappointed with is the center back and the right wing back, because I know that we brought Langley and Spence, who will probably not get much game time, but I wanted us to do something more. And I'm also not saying that, if Bastoni and Gvardiol weren't available, there is plenty of other players that could have been brought in. Like, for example, the guy that Southampton talked with, Lacroix. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of his surname.
Yeah, Lacroix. It was. Do you feel like we just didn't settle for? We only were looking at the creme de la creme of center backs, and we didn't want to settle for anything less. But I just think we needed to still sign one regardless. It felt like we were all saying to ourselves, like, maybe we missed out on the big targets, and looks like none of those big targets went. Skriniar didn't actually go anywhere. Bastoni didn't go anywhere. Gavardiol ended up not actually going anywhere, signing a new contract. So it just shows that maybe none of those guys were really available. But like you said, we could have still settled for something else, and maybe even another loan. We could have settled for another loan, even if it came down to that, like we did with Longley.
Yeah, so there is two ways to look at this, right? On one hand, if you told me that we can, but I mean with certainty, if somebody told me that we can't bring Bastoni this window, but we will bring him next summer, that's definite, right? I would take it without even blinking, right? Although I blinked a couple of times right now, but I would take it without like any doubts. But the problem for me is that we will face enormous competition for those two players in the next summer window, or even the next in the winter window, right? And my point is that I just feel like our club won't participate in a bidding war with like Chelsea and Man United, and it's not even maybe that we cannot cannot compete, because I feel like we have enough money to compete if we really wanted that player. But it's also about the status of a club. If Guardiola has an offer from Chelsea and Spurs on the table, unless Chelsea are like 10th, then maybe he would think like about joining. I think that definitely he would join us then. But that's assuming Chelsea. But City looked at him, right? If City comes calling for you and you have an offer from Tottenham, sorry, like you go to City, and that's not anything like out of the ordinary, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there is like there is a plenty of other center backs, just that no worries, just that level below, which we could have easily brought in now, and that's like Lacroix, that's Hincapi from Leverkusen, Bremer, plenty of others, King Min Jae. I would have been perfectly fine with this. The guy that City brought in from Borussia, fine. Like I would be happy with this type of signing. I just wanted to see, something that I on, something more special than Langley on loan. And there is plenty of talk about,
Would you say it was the sort of failing of the window, maybe that center back situation? Because I said this before, we still accomplished plenty of things. We found a replacement, or not a replacement. We found the actual real backup number 9, or whatever you want to call it, the real number 9 to compete with Harry Kane, or whatever right way that is to put it. We solved that problem, I think, and it was a long-standing problem for Spurs. We did bring in Basuma as well as Bentancur, which I think are huge improvements on that midfield, which also needed to be done. You also look at the signing of Perisic and the signing of Udogie as well, which I think is going to be actually proving to be really good, because if Sessegnon doesn't really cut it for us, let's say by the end of the season, we do have Udogie coming through to be able to compete with Perisic. I think that was actually a smart signing. Longley, I actually like that signing of Longley. Felt actually smart, but it felt sort of like we were to complement that with something else, complement that with the Lacroix, complement that with like I don't know, we were looking at plenty of other center backs. Like I said, Zabarnyi was that guy we kept a really good eye on. It wouldn't have been really convincing signing like a Zabarnyi plus a Longley, but at least, like you said, it knows that we did sign 2 center backs, and it knows that we did bring in something. But perhaps Conte would have been upset knowing that he doesn't have much faith in something like a Zabarnyi. So it's a delicate situation. It was a delicate situation.
Yeah, when
Ndika,
like immediately when I Ndika, like immediately when I heard that we aren't bringing Bastoni and Guardiola, which, to be honest, I didn't believe from the beginning that since the beginning, sorry, that we will land this caliber of player. It was hard for me to be convinced by those Bastoni links, even though everybody, every journal out there said that it's only a matter of time or whatever. There is this thing about like Italian players and their Italian boyhood clubs. It's not easy to price them out of there, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Bastoni doesn't move anywhere until the end of his career. That's how much they can be loyal to their club, right? But as soon as I heard about Langley, I thought to myself that okay, we will solve this left center back issue with a Langley alone. But right now, it will probably mean that we will bring someone for the center back position, and we didn't. And that's my issue with this transfer window. As I said, I am perfectly fine with all the players that we brought in. I am happy that they are there. I am happy that we have options from the bench. I would honestly, because we also talked about Hill and whether he will get a chance or not, right? If he doesn't get a chance and Lucas Moura doesn't really get much of a look, and I hope that he will, but if those two aren't like a regular substitutions, we have only Richarlison as a substitution for our forward line, right?
And with Lucas and Hill being out with injury, it does look bleak right now.
Yeah, the bench against Fulham had one attacking player if you don't count the wing backs, right? Then that was my issue. And the problem is that we've brought the 7 players that we brought, and suddenly new issues show themselves, because we didn't actually get an injury for a first team player except Romero, right? Everyone else was fit. But suddenly it turned out that we had 2 substitutes missing, and what can you say? Actually, we don't have an attacking option, right? And that's why people started crying out for a center mid, for a backup, for a backup forward, right? Where, if you remember, at least I personally thought that if we had a quality wing backs, we wouldn't need a center attacking mid, because the role of a wing back in that system is also to help out in the middle. Remember my first call in that that I actually prepared for with my own paper and documents on the other side. I was speaking about Conte's system in Chelsea, and his wing backs then really helped out in the middle. It was either the center back or the wing backs cutting into the midfield to help if the midfield was getting outnumbered. Of course, if you have Conte and whoever else it was, Matic, I think.
Yeah, Matic and Conte.
Yeah, Conte and Matic, with all due respect to Bentancur and Højbjerg, but Conte is a monster, right? So
and the Matic, was graceful.
Yeah, and Matic was also quality back then. But that aside, if we had wing backs who are more brave and aggressive and attacking minded, then I feel like the issue in the midfield wouldn't exist, and then we wouldn't have to consider attacking mid options, right?
I agree with you. I actually know exactly what you're saying, because even Emerson, you can tell, is being instructed plenty of moments to come a bit more into the midfield to help out in certain moments with that sort of possession play, to give the midfielders something to play to. But something that Dave and I have noticed is that when Sanchez plays right-sided center back, his passing range is so limited in certain moments.
He's so
it feels like it's not even Emerson's fault, because he's even pointing for Emerson to come closer to him at certain stages, and you're like, he's only 8 yards away. Just play the pass.
Yeah, just pass the ball, right?
So I agree with you. The wingback should be more comfortable to be able to play in the middle, be able to be helping out in those situations. But I feel like what it ends up being is Sanchez has all that time on the ball. He can't get it into the midfielder, and he can't get it into the wingback without the wingback being 6 yards right next to him. And then you're sort of playing yourself into trouble. If we had, I think, Romero, and hopefully we do have Romero tomorrow, I think we'll see a huge difference, because I imagine
Romero would
actually if Emerson actually has a poor game, if Romero plays tomorrow, I don't think Emerson's going to play tomorrow, but if Emerson were to play tomorrow and he would be alongside Romero, Emerson needs to then have a good game going forward, because if he doesn't have a good game going forward, then you would then point the finger at Emerson. I sort of struggle to point the finger at Emerson too much right now, just because
Yeah,
he's playing along
it's not.
Sanchez, and because
Yeah,
Sanchez can't get the ball into anyone. Like he can't play a pass confidently into any player that isn't less than like 7 yards away from him.
yeah. Like even we as fans noticed how much pressure West Ham put on our
In the
right
second
side,
half.
right? Yeah, especially in the second half. And what Romero gives you, in my opinion, is calmness, because we've seen him plenty of times skinning players when an attacker came for him, to pressure him, and he just dribbles past
Yeah.
them, and he's off. That's one thing that he can do. And the other thing that he does, he has, in my opinion, precise long balls,
Yeah.
and he can switch the play to the left side. And when your right side is getting pressured heavily, it takes away players like from the middle or from the right side, because the
Plays
whole
them out of
team has
position.
the
Yeah.
whole opposition team has to shift right to their left side, your right side. So I feel like with Romero back in, and with, hopefully, in my opinion, Doherty back in, we will fix that right side, in my
I
opinion.
agree.
And I also want to say that, like, the best period of the previous season, in my opinion, was with those two players when they were playing. As
True.
I said, again, the opposition wasn't great, because we played like Leeds,
But
Everton,
that's when you think we looked our
Villa,
best in Conte's system.
West Ham that had Europa League, because they rotated heavily, right? Because the opposition wasn't great, but I still feel like that part of our season was the best, where we looked the best. So coming to Fulham,
Like you said, with
yeah,
Doherty and Romero, that's when Conte's system looked its best, or
yeah,
that's when maybe
it looked its
Conte's
best,
system
right? We were
looked like it was more
fluid
at
in
its core
attack.
flow.
Yeah, we are fluid in attack on both sides, even though, like, the left side, actually, funnily enough, because I think Rufus also brought that point in, or the friend that he had with him there. They said that Perisic, I don't want to say that his presence hurts Sonny a bit, but we've talked about it, that the left side is overcrowded, in my opinion, because when we had Sessegnon, or who else was playing on the
Reggie,
left?
yeah.
Reggie. They were dropping back as Royal did, and gave Sonny space there, right? Whereas Perisic is right up there with him,
Because
which
he's so
means that,
comfortable up there.
yeah, he's so comfortable out there. And don't get me wrong, I feel like we will figure this out. Sonny will figure this out on his own. Like, he is a world class player. He will show his quality eventually, right? But one thing I want to like, point out against Fulham, I feel like this will be our first test against, like, a proper number 9, because all the previous teams that we played against, maybe except West Ham with Antonio, but Antonio, Mikel Antonio. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just had the brain fart. Antonio is like a big, strong number 9, but he isn't in his peak form. I would even dare to say that he is actually kind of bad right now, and
Yeah.
Skamaka was injured, right? And Mitrovic is in form right now, and this will be our proper test. And I actually think it's kind of good that Fulham is now before City, because, like, I don't
It's
want to
almost
be
like,
all.
what's actually funny about Fulham before City, it's the opposite of City before Burnley, you could
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
Where we
exactly.
actually get to have a test at home, which we should win because we're at home. So we know that
Yeah.
we need to come out the gates and be able to be convincing. So I think that will be helpful. If we were away from home, it could be a bit tougher because we do sometimes start slowly away from home. But the fact that it is at home, we do have to come out the gates, show that we are still a force this season. Then we have the Champions League away from home as an interesting tactical test.
No,
Then City, it's
it's at
actually
our home.
ideal. It actually is ideal. I think it's this
Um,
way.
the first Champions League game is at our home, against Marsilia.
I thought
Yeah,
I thought we actually
yeah.
had to travel away.
No. It's at our place.
Wow, even better
Then it's
actually, even
Frankfurt
better.
and Sporting
So
away.
2 games to be able to get some
Yeah.
confidence here and actually work on some things.
Yeah, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but I feel like City will take revenge on all those losses that they had
They
against
have a
us.
lot of making up to do.
Yeah, like, I've heard, I don't know who said it. I was watching one of the shows, from plenty Spurs channels, and I think someone said that what we, ironically, and I know that many people won't like what I will say, but ironically, I feel like if we get a spanking, like if someone absolutely like spank us, let's say we go away to City and we lose 3-0, I feel like that might be in an ironic way a good thing to happen.
Mm.
I
It's
know,
something
I know,
interesting
I know
because
it
that's
sounds
something that
mad.
Lego Man really likes because he loves, a good spanking to sort of learn from it to then build a better team. But, in all seriousness, it sort of builds, like you said, perhaps a better team in the future because they learn what the real issues are in the team or they learn the real issues tactically. Feels like
Yeah,
Conte, though, would rather. He's almost like that guy that likes to bury things deep inside, you could say, as a tactician. He would rather win 1-0, it be the ugliest 1-0
yeah.
possible then just get away from there and not have to talk about how poor the performance was or something like that. I don't think he likes the sort of I think I called it a humbling performance. He doesn't want a humbling performance where his team get, kind of humbled by another team.
Yeah, the reason why I said that, and I don't say that it needs to happen, and I firmly
agree.
believe that we should lose to City. No, nothing of that
I know what
sort,
you
right?
mean, but I know
But
what you mean, the benefit
what
of it.
yeah, what I try to like remind people is that when in a champions in a season where Conte won the Premier League with Chelsea, they got spanked by Arsenal 3-0, and in that moment Conte saw like everything that was wrong with his formation, with his players, with the way they played. They changed it up. Like I feel like they were playing 4-4 when he came to Chelsea, and then he changed it to
Three in the back.
3-4-3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's what we need, that we need a formation change, but there is something that needs to be done with this team. And then he changed it, and they won 13 games in a row. I feel, as far as I remember. So, all I'm saying is that ironically, maybe that's what we would need if we don't perform against Fulham
Yeah.
again. If we perform like we did against West Ham and Forest. But all that being said, I still believe that we will kind of easily win against Fulham. Maybe it won't be the prettiest, but playing at home is a different thing than
Yeah.
playing away.
It's
So
gonna
yeah,
nice to have some home games for sure. I think a lot of these, I'm getting kind of tired of playing away. We've actually played majority away games, I think,
yeah,
so far.
and we will play plenty away in the recent fixtures. I feel like I saw somewhere that there are two teams in Premier League that, counting from two fixtures ago, in the that will sound confusing. From like game week 3 to game week, I think 9, there are two teams that play 5 home fixtures and 2 away, and this is City and Arsenal. And there are 5 teams that play 5 away fixtures, and it's us and United. I feel like,
Interesting.
or the other teams have like more,
More
free,
evenly
free, free
split.
to,
Yeah.
yes, spread more evenly. But us, we
Feels like we've
actually have
already
5.
played a few
Yeah, we
away games,
already
if you ask
played.
me. So perhaps we're getting all our away games out right away. Well, I don't know how that will suit us. I don't know. But Michael, any final
Yeah.
things to say before I let you go? Perhaps, score prediction for Fulham or, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so yeah, as I said, maybe I'm not sounding like the most positive recently, but trust me, I am all all backing this team. Like I want them to succeed. I want them to do the best that they can. I know that there is quality in this team, and I know that there is quality in every single one of these players. Maybe they aren't like the most flairful, and it's not like watching Leeds or
Hmm.
Arsenal, who play this more like free flowing football, and that intricate passes, and all that dribbling. But I feel like our system is compact, it's rigid, it's really good for the players that we have also.
Yeah.
So I feel like we will fix up. I also feel like the international break might help us actually,
Yeah.
because it resets the whole thing. Like just survive to the break, and then we come back
Recollect.
after 2 weeks of
Yeah.
international break. I think that it's only like 2 or 3 matches in that international break, so our players hopefully won't be too tired. So yeah, my score prediction for Fulham, I feel like we will. I think that we will concede. That's what I'm saying with Mitrovic and the big number 9. I feel like he
Yeah.
will bully either Davis or Dyer and he will score a goal from it. But I feel like we have enough quality all around the pitch to have this game secured.
Hmm.
So I think it will be 2 or 3-1. I'm leaning more
I could see that too.
towards 3-1.
I could see a
3-1.
3-1. I'd love a 3-1, to be fair. I think that'd be convincing enough. 2-1, I think we'd still be in that similar position that
Yeah.
Spurs fans have. Fulham are a good team, though. They only lost 2-1
Yeah, they
to
surprised
Arsenal.
me.
And if you ask me, we're actually the better team at plenty of stages of that game. So it did show that they are a good team and they can bring a good game to us. So if we were to win
Yeah.
3-1, I think we should be happy with that, actually.
Yeah, quick thing, because before each season starts, me and my brother make a Premier League prediction right before game week 1, and we put all 20 teams in, like, in the order that we feel like they will end up. And I feel like I've put Fulham 19th, because just because
Everyone else was
it's
doing it.
Fulham. Everyone predicts them to drop, because they are the definition of a yo-yo club. Whereas now I
They
actually
look
feel
like a
like they
top
will
10
survive.
team almost.
No, maybe not that far, but I feel like they will survive this season, and it will surprise plenty of people. And Bournemouth are still going down. There is no there is no like way they will stay up. But I feel like Fulham can stay up if their key players stay fit. So yeah, they are a dangerous team, but it's still a championship side with, I know, some additions, but come on, like we should win this game 99% of the time. So yeah, I'm confident. And actually, unfortunately, I won't be able to watch this game because I'm going on a field trip tomorrow with my friends to Wolfsburg.
Nice.
So yeah, so I will probably watch a replay when I come back. But
Good.
I hope that I'm wondering if I should put my phone in an offline mode to
I think
have
you
a
should.
surprise.
That's what I do personally.
Yeah.
If I'm missing it, I think you should. Yeah, just put it in airplane mode. Just ignore it. Come back to hopefully a good performance, maybe a clean sheet. But like you
Yeah,
said,
hopefully.
at least a win will do. But Michael, really appreciate you coming on, my man. Really good conversation as always.
Yeah, as always, Jax. Thanks for giving me a chance to speak up, and let's see you on Monday.
This is a
We
good
will
chance
talk
to
about
bounce
this
back,
game.
Michael, especially after this
I
window.
feel
This
like
is a great pick me up, I think. So hopefully we get a good convincing win tomorrow. But Michael, I will be seeing you. Thank you for coming on, brother. Come
thank
on,
you.
Spurs.
Bye, brother. Hey.
All right. Everybody, show Michael some love in the comments. Absolute legend. Always have good conversations with him. We are going to end it off here, everybody. Do appreciate you all tuning in. If you did want to have your say on this fan show, feel free to grab that fan show membership. You can do it in the description down below. We'll be having another one on Monday with Dave and Dave and myself talking about that Fulham weekend. Probably still talking about the transfer window, but hopefully we'll have a good result to be speaking about. If you're still looking for a bit more content, would definitely suggest watching the stats with Jack. It is out there and it is ready for you. It is your preview for the Tottenham game, for this big this big London derby. But everybody, as always, we will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust. We'll be seeing you.